Welcome to today's MTD podcast. Today we will be discussing the manufacture of ventilator components in the UK. I'm Giovanni Albanese, hosting today's show, a passionate engineer with over 25 years experience and a proud member of the MTD team. Today I'm joined by Matt Jenness. Matt's the managing director of Microlock UK and has been in the industry for many years. Matt's father was the founder of Microlock Workholding Solutions, which is still going from strength to strength today. And we will find out shortly how his company have been helping the NHS in the manufacture of ventilator components. Welcome to the podcast, Matt.
Hello, Gio. Thanks for having me on.
No, you're welcome. It's good to catch up. I know it's a bit different today, doing it from our homes remotely.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining in on this podcast.
That's okay. You only interrupted my sunbathing. Don't worry. I'm just joking.
I know you're keen to get out in the sun, Matt. So I'll try and crack on with. But on a serious note, Matt, how have you been finding the lockdown?
Well, not too bad, really. Things could be a lot worse. We're very busy at work, although the manufacturing director has basically kicked me out and said I don't need to be there. So, like everyone, I'm working from home as much as I can. But yeah, I'm finding it okay. It's sometimes difficult when you've got the kids and the dog and everyone kicking around, but like everyone else, I'm just muddling on.
Now, firstly, Matt, can you kind of just give our audience a little bit of an insight into Microlock, what kind of work holding solution it is, and a little bit about your father and how he started the business and he designed this product, please?
Okay, well, basically, my father was a subcontracting engineering company in Bedfordshire. He started in the 80s making components. Most of his components were made for a company called Texas Instruments that were a very large company in Bedford at the time. They shipped operations to Singapore. I guess that would have been 90-something. And so my father didn't really have much work. He'd already designed something like what the Microlock has become for himself. And he was using it on a day-to-day basis, and basically he just started making it for a few of his friends that sort of in the industry, and they started using it, and then other people were seeing that they wanted it, and it started from there really. He then took on board my cousin, who was an architect at the time, and that went through the building crisis, so he was looking for work as well. So he came on board as the sales director. That would have been probably 92, 93. And then I joined the company in 96 I started off as an engineer on the shop floor, and then I went into the sales, and then my cousin sort of left in early 2002, I think. So I've run the business since then. My father's recently retired. He still comes in occasionally, but he still comes to check in on me sometimes.
It must be hard to kind of let it go after, when you've put all your heart into it for so long. It's a fantastic product. So, congratulations on the product, and it's continually evolving, but it was kind of ahead of its time to a certain degree. I mean, it's still, the design hasn't changed that much, but it's still so relevant within our industry, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, the design, I suppose, hasn't changed massively, but we've obviously tweaked it, and we brought out a hydraulic system a few years ago. That's gone pretty well. Again, that could well be ahead of its time for some customers, but still the manual system sold throughout the world. We're very strong in Italy and in France, a bit in Germany, but it's a difficult market for us. But sold in the States and in the Far East. So still the UK is our biggest market, but it's sold pretty much worldwide.
It's a fantastic product. Matt, your manufacturing facility that makes the Microlock bases and vices has recently had a little bit of a transformation in
Yes.
regards to the output. Can you give the listeners... tell the listeners what's happened effectively over the last few months.
Well, about probably 3 weeks ago now. We were still fairly busy with Microlock, to be honest, but the stocks were fairly good. We were approached by a company, part of the Cambridge consortium. I think basically they'd got a list of everyone who'd got a sort of Matura horizontal machine, and they sort of got in contact with us, said, did we have some capacity to make some sort of prototypes? We agreed. We said we'd make some, and then we got the call saying, well, could you make these in a lot bigger quantities? They're sort of aluminium blocks that are going to go in these ventilators. But so we agreed. We ran a night shift. I actually ran 3 night shifts myself last week. That got me out of the house. We've been running 24/7 since. We just finished the first quantity. I think it's about 1,000 components to go in the first lot of ventilators. And we're about to start the sort of second batch now. We said we'll help out. We'll do. They're hoping to have 10,000 of these done by the end of May. So we'll do whatever we can. But yeah, we're going to be working 24/7, helping them out while we. That's still only one of our machines and the Nakamura lathe. So we've still got 4 or 5 other machines working away, doing all the Microlock. So that's So I don't want the listeners to get worried. We can no longer make that. We can. It's just we've switched production, certainly on the sort of high batch Matsura. We've switched to help to make these medical components.
Now, I just want to kind of emphasise, you make Microlock units with Microlock, so it's like reproducing itself effectively. So this really kind of illustrates the flexibility of your work holding system, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, we're lucky in a way. I mean, a lot of people probably would have to buy fixturing and stuff like that because we've obviously got Microlock on our cubes. We managed to load up sort of 40 components on each cube, and we've got 5 cubes. So, the run time of these parts isn't that long, but with the 5 pallets, we could still go for about 3 or 4 hours. So it makes things a lot easier, a lot more efficient. It can be left for a few hours. You can go home, have your dinner, and go back and load it all up and get cracking again. So it's got its advantages, definitely, for that sort of thing.
I think it's a fantastic story that, the fact that you're being able to produce these ventilator parts, and it kind of really goes to show the flexibility of the Microlock work holding system. Now, in regards to the ventilator part, is it free issue material? Did you have to go and get the material?
Basically, they haven't got time to go and source material. I think they've been spreading it out through a lot of the engineering industry in this country. The prototypes was, what have you got in stock material-wise? What can you do? But when it came to the actual batch production, we've sourced the material, we've sourced the anodizing. I have to give a good mention to the Daventry metal finishers. They've been brilliant. They've given us a sort of 24-hour turnaround on the anodizing, and that's really helped us. The ASC Metals have been supplying aluminium again. They've been supplying us with the cut billets within 24 hours of us ordering them. So they've really pulled out the stops to help us as well. So I have to say thanks to them. But yeah, the turnaround has been pretty spectacular. Like I said, from order to sort of sending them the parts out, it was just a matter of days, which was pretty incredible, really.
So, I mean, what would you say in regards to the manufacturing industry as it is at the minute, Matt? It's good to see how they seem to be pulling together so well.
Definitely, it goes to show how strong manufacturing is in this country, and hopefully, if any good can come out of what is obviously a horrible thing, maybe people will realise that we can manufacture everything we need in this country, and maybe we'll get some onshoring manufacturing, back in the country. So I'm hoping a long-term benefit from what has been a terrible thing could be that we do a lot more in-country manufacturing.
I totally agree. I think it's a very valid point, and I think that, like with your product, it's a British-made product. It always has been, and you do get that quality with a British-made product. Now, moving back to your product, really, Matt, I think that in these times, it's a perfect opportunity for people to learn about new products, new processes, and different ways to make their components. Sometimes when you're so busy making components, you focus just on production and not necessarily the best way of making a particular part. You just carry on making it as you've always made it. But with that said, and with that in mind, your microlock system is a very flexible system that lends itself to numerous applications. How can people find out more about your system whilst they're on lockdown, Matt? Where can they go to find out more about it?
Well, our website was updated only a few months ago, so there's a lot of information and videos on there. There's also a lot of videos on the MTD CNC website that show applications, customers using it. Over the last few months, the last 2 months, I've done probably 3 or 4 virtual sales visits over Zoom and Skype, so I've had my demonstrator in my home office, and I've been talking to a potential customer through Zoom, and he's been there with his colleagues, and like being there, I guess. Obviously, you can't touch it, but it's it seemed to go well. They could ask questions, they could see the product, see how it was put together, how it was worked. So that's something that we offer. If someone wants to get in touch with us through sales@microlock.com, we'll be happy to set up a virtual sales call with them and look at their application and talk them through how our product could benefit them.
I think that's a good point as well in regards to the virtual kind of selling tool, and technology's been so well used over the last few weeks and maybe last month, shall we say. And I think that what we've seen is a real necessity now for automation, to kind of be using the very best products that you possibly can to make these parts as efficiently as possible, as fast as possible. And then you mentioned your hydraulic solution. Now, for people that are unfamiliar with that solution, if I had to try and explain it, it's very similar to your mechanical one, albeit you can automate that product, automate the clamping of the component, and you can do that through the CNC control, if that's correct, Matt.
That's right, Joe. Yeah, you can use it manually with a sort of push button, i.e. you just push a button or pull a lever, and all the vices clamp together at the same time. Perfect for vertical machines, but it is possible to put an electric solenoid valve onto the hydraulic pump, and then using an M code from the machine, you can clamp and unclamp as part of the program. Now, the good thing about that is obviously that takes out the operator error of, maybe not forgetting to press the button or so on. But also it can be then worked with robot loading the microlock bases and things like that. So yeah, it can be used in full automation.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been speaking to a few companies, High Spec being one of them. Since this has happened, they're running 24-hour shifts with robots and automation to make these ventilator parts, and that's one of many stories. And prior to COVID-19, we were always saying there's not enough people using automation, but now there seems to be a real necessity if people are looking to make these parts in very, very high volume as quickly as possible to really utilize the equipment that they've got, for 24-hour, 24/7 production. And I think that maybe when we do go out of it, the latest technology and the latest solutions are certainly, in my opinion, going to be getting embraced more than they've ever been, Matt. I think that I really 100% truly hope that from all this bad situation that we're in, something really positive and good comes from it, and I'm sure that it will. Now, Mac
I think
was
so, yeah.
sorry, Matt. Sorry, go on. Sorry,
No.
Matty.
I was just agreeing with your comment that I believe that, being able to run unmanned and automation, if we need to be able to compete with the Far East and make more things here, not just make the prototypes. We need to be able to make the full batch production, the high volumes. We need to make that here. So we're not reliant on any other countries or we can make everything here. And to do that, you have to automate it and you have to be quick. You have to take out the operator because that, as much as you can, because that is the largest expense. So if we can do that, then we can compete with the likes of China and India and places like that. I fully believe that, and I think we'll have to.
Yeah, I 100%. I think this is really emphasising the fact that the people that have embraced the latest technology, the latest work holding solutions, cutting tools, automation, seem to be the people at the minute, without trying to put anyone down, because that's the last thing that I'm trying to do, but they seem to be the people at the minute that seem to be winning the work. And it's really highlighting the fact that, to be working in a very efficient way, making products as efficiently and as quickly as possible, it's an absolute necessity for all manufacturers to look at some of the latest equipment that is out there and maybe use this time productively to look at their own process for when they return back, if they're not currently working at the minute, to see how they can improve their current processes. Mac was due to be on around this time. Are there any new products in the pipeline that you're looking to be launching soon that you can tell us about?
I can let you into a little bit of information. We were hoping to actually have a prototype of a new pneumatic vice that we've designed. It's a 5-axis vice. It's designed at the fully automated 5-axis machines. We've designed something. We've got a design, a model, everything drawn up. We were going to do the prototype, but then just as we were about to start doing this, we obviously got the call for the ventilator parts, and we've had to sort of shelf it. But had Matt gone ahead, we would have made sure that it had been there. So, but the fact that Matt's gone back to January for us is probably going to be a good thing in a way, because by that point we'll be able to not only have a prototype, but I'm hoping it would have been fully tested and ready to launch and actually sell products at the show. So it's probably done us a favour, it being put off, really, because it does give us a bit more time.
So, with your strategy there, Matt, you've obviously got a new invention in the pipeline aimed at a 5th-axis machine and an automated 5th-axis machine, something that we've just mentioned. And I was unaware of that, by the way. I didn't know until you've said that what product it was. So it really proves what we've been talking about. Do you see you've obviously done your due diligence and your research before inventing this new product.
Yeah.
Do you see most machines being automated in the future?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of demand for that. I mean, obviously, there are a lot of sort of small 5-axis manual vices in the market. We could have designed one of them and sold it, but we were going to be competing against a lot of people that have already done it, and a lot of big companies that are well known, and a lot of people already, buy this stuff. They're self-centering vices. You're looking at 500-600 quid each. There's probably 10 or 15 companies that do them. So there wasn't really a big point in us doing the same. That's what our sort of thoughts were. So we thought we would go straight to the sort of higher end automated type 5-axis machines, where the market isn't so flooded, and there's a bit of a gap for something like this that's pneumatic. Which is a lot easier to power than hydraulics if you're doing it straight from the machine, or you can even have it sort of set up to the robot arm, even something like that. Also, our vice is going to work in the opposite of a normal vice, so it's going to work as in it's going to be basically an on-off vice. So by putting power on, the air power pressure on, you release the vice. So the idea is it works similar, I guess, to like a 0-point type system. So it's gonna work like that. It's quite impressive. My father and myself designed it between us, and I'm excited about it. There's not much else I can tell, really. But
yeah, that sounds fantastic. I can't wait to see it, Matt.
Yeah, it looks good on paper, but we'll see if it actually works. I mean, we've done the maths, the sums, and everything, and it should work. We're sure it will.
Will it be a pneumatic, Matt? Do you have any concerns about clamping forces?
Well, it'll be clamped by the springs, so it'll have disc springs inside the bottom of the vice, and that. You can work out how many springs you need to give you a certain amount of force. So it will be strong. It will be a strong vice. But obviously, the more springs you have, the more power you're going to need to release it. So we didn't want it to be so strong that it you need ridiculous amounts of power. We wanted it to be pneumatic rather than hydraulic. And if you wanted to get more power, then we would have had to gone to hydraulic. But we'll use gripper type jaws on it as well to really grip into the component. So that'll take that sort of the need away. I think it could be a really good product and something that I really think we could hit the market with. You're going to have to wait till January probably to see it, but hopefully we'll have a prototype before the end of the year, something that we might be able to show on MTD, and then when it gets to Mac, people can come and see it and have a play with it.
Well, thanks for letting us know. Thanks for letting us have an insight into this, Matt. You've certainly whet my appetite. I love work holding, and I think that 100% you're absolutely right. I think that is where the gap in the market was, and I think it's going to be even more so when we come out of lockdown. Which let's not forget, it's not. Hopefully, it's not going to be that long. We all need to remain positive as much as we possibly can. Matt, just before we wrap up this podcast, for people that are looking into work holding or looking at their complete process, can you just give your opinion to the importance of work holding in the complete process, please?
Yes, well, I wouldn't tell you how many times I've been to see a customer who's just spent £200,000 on a brand new machine and they've got one rusty old vice in the middle of it. That is literally like buying a Ferrari and putting remolded tyres on it. You just can't do it. To fully utilise a machine tool, and I'm not just talking about microlock even now, I'm talking about any modern work holding, multiple work holding, just doing one bit at a time, even if you've got patches of 50, you just can't do one at a time. It's just not going to be efficient. You've got too many tool changes. You've got too many, the machine, you've got to have the man stood by the machine. There's so many benefits for having multiple work holding. Obviously, I want people to buy Microlock because we've got our own benefits. You're not just multiple holding. You're locating your workpiece. You're flexible. You can clamp in other direction. Microlock's got its own benefits, but any multiple work holding is better than single work holding. So it's a very important part. You've got the machine, you've got the tooling, and then you've got the work holding. And to really fully utilise the machine, you've got to have the best work holding, the best tooling, the best everything on it to fully utilise it.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that, I was in that game for quite a while, and it just fascinated me exactly the same as you, the amount of people that overlook work holding because it is such an absolute essential part of the manufacturing process. And for the smallest investment, it can certainly give you the best return of investment without a shadow of a doubt. Matt, I really appreciate your time today. I'll let you get into that garden, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. And just to wrap up, Matt, when do you think we're going to get back to normality? Not meaning to put you on the spot, but I have.
Well, I think we've certainly got another 3 or 4 weeks of full lockdown, and then hopefully, after that, we can gradually start going back. I think, the engineering companies will fully go back, then you're probably going to have the construction fully going, and then slowly the schools back. So, it's hard to put a timeline on it, isn't it? But, hopefully by the end of summer, everything will be back to normal. But who knows? Who knows? We shall see.
Matt, we'll certainly have a few beers and a celebration when that happens, and I look forward to the day.
Most definitely.
Matt, thanks so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you've listened to this podcast and you've got any questions regarding our conversation, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you in the next podcast. Don't forget to subscribe via the app. On your iPhones, smartphones, iPads, tablets, and you can also listen to the podcast on the MTD website. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.